May the best brand win with Scott Robertson's Music Biz Marketing Strategies. Now, here's your host, Scott Robertson.
Hey, happy Friday, everybody. You are tuned to May the Best Brand Win on Entertalk Media, the undisputed leader in music biz talk. And I am Scott, your host, and a man who's ready for football season and also incredibly terrified of the stupidity surrounding it. I checked out Hard Knocks this week on HBO, and I thought it was interesting that just the whole entire episode was about COVID-19. There was so little football. I saw like one football thrown. I saw one football handed off. There wasn't very much football on a show about football, so I'm scared of the stupidity that will ensue. Paul isn't here. No one really knows where he is. You get a whisper, an email, a text message here and there, but he could be in Dubai for all I know, honestly. So, if you are in Dubai, Paul, assalamu alaikum. And we hope to have you back in the booth, someday soon. Because otherwise you just hear me kind of drone on and that kind of thing. So who am I? What do I do? And how do you reach me? I am Scott Robertson. I run a public relations and marketing consultancy firm called Robertson Communications in Orange County, California. I help companies win at business. There is a lot of bad marketing in the world. Good God, there's so much bad marketing in the world. And I help make sure that my clients stay on the right side of the line. And that comes from, just years of experience of, hopefully doing it the right way. How do you reach me? You can send an email to scott@robertsoncom, 2M's like communications.com. You can find me on my website at robertsoncom.com. You can also find me on LinkedIn and you can find me on Twitter @robertsoncom. Oh, and also facebook.com/robertsoncom. Ooh, yay. And I'm also a certified story brand guide. So, you know how businesses really struggle to talk about themselves in all of their marketing, and that's what leads to bad marketing out there. I can help them create better brand stories, better website wireframes, sales copy, and of course, it works great for public relations as well. So, and do all those kind of things. You're staying on the good side of the marketing line. Well, you guys are smart because you tuned into a good one. This is episode 164, which I call No NAMM, Now What? It happened. CES is canceled. The NAMM Show is canceled. But as it turns out, your company isn't canceled, and you still have very important marketing work to do. But now you're going to be minus some really big events that have helped you in the past. But fear not. Where there's a will, there's a way. And I have a few tips and tricks to help you out on this episode of Ryan Reynolds' favorite marketing podcast, May the Best Brand Win, only on Entertalk. You guys tuned into a good one. So let's dig into it. First of all, let's go over some of the role of trade shows in marketing. Trade shows have been around for hundreds and hundreds of years. These days in marketing, really the trade show has basically three big roles. Number one, we're showing new things off. We're showing new products off. We're announcing stuff. We're introducing new stuff to dealers, to customers, to influencers, to media. It's really all about show and tell. How do we tell that story, from the trade show floor? Number two, it's always about business connections. Your net worth is the same as your network these days. Your network is your net worth, right? So, partners, friends, associates, it's really all about who you know and who knows you. And trade shows have always served a good purpose of getting outside of your four walls and seeing who else is out there in the world. And number three, research. What does everyone else have? You're coming to market with something that's brand new. Is it brand new? Has somebody else come out with it before? Is there somebody in China trying to knock it off? Trade shows are a fantastic way to stay very up to date in what you're doing. So let's talk about, what's going on in the world. Basically, CES finally had to acquiesce. They had to cancel the Las Vegas event this year. Ironic, because a lot of people first got COVID at CES in 2020. A lot of people came back from the show complaining of the same kind of symptoms. And really, in those days, in January, we just called that the flu. That was just, you just got the flu. everybody got the flu and for some people it turned into pneumonia, but really it was just a flu. Then they were able to label it and said, no, it's this new virus. Yay for us. And you know how that story is going. So basically, the CTA was planning to continue to run it, but Gary Shapiro announced recently that the Las Vegas event is canceled. Basically, CES 21 will follow the lead of the rest of the industry and create an online-only event. Now, it's interesting because the IFA show, the technology show in Berlin, looks like it's going to go forward as planned as a real event. Those are the kind of things that that CEA has to look at. Is to other they look to other organizations as the biggest trade show in the United States, possibly the world. We always have to look at what they're always looking at CES as the guidepost, right? So as soon as CES said we're going to go virtual and we're not going to do this, it was a pretty clear indication that NAMM was going to do the same thing. And NAMM did do the same thing. It was scheduled for January 18th, 2021. It's been officially canceled due to the continued spread of COVID-19. Basically, with the health and safety of NAMM members being top priority, the in-person event has been canceled. But they are going to bring the music merchants, the industry insiders, and musicians together in a virtual space with the launch of what they're calling Believe in Music Week. The CEO, Joe Lamont, said, while it remains unsafe for us to gather in person in January, Believe in Music Week will use the new intuitive technology to connect us all to connect us all to harness the incredible industry and energy that happens when we come together. Kind of interesting. Looks like it's going to be on believeinmusic.tv. Not on it'll probably be rebroadcast on their social channels as well. It's interesting because these virtual events, nobody's ever been able to pull out a virtual event that didn't just tremendously underwhelm people. But with a lot of smart minds on the case, that could really change this year, I imagine. So, 2021 is going to start in a really weird way. But it reminds me of a quote that I once heard and that I've since adopted and used quite a bit. It basically, a bend in the road is only the end of the road if you fail to make the turn. Really important stuff, right? Things are changing. There are a lot of curveballs being thrown at a lot of folks, in the industry, as marketers out there. But we're adaptable. One thing about us as marketers is we can adapt. We can move. I drove through the town of Rancho Santa Margarita, which is, right where I live, this past weekend, and it looked like the circus had come to town. There were so many tents out. There were women, doing nails in tents. There were people cutting hair in tents. There were tents set up over parking spaces, formerly used as parking spaces where people were eating and drinking. I mean, mankind will find a way, right? We will find a way. And I think that's the same thing in trade shows. But I'm going to come back in segment 3 and I'm going to give you a few tips on how to do things without these shows in your marketing mix, because they've been so dominant, for such a long time, and certainly will again. But anyway, come on back. Right now, you are tuned to May the Best Brand Win on Entertalk Media, the undisputed leader in music biz talk. Come on back. We're going to talk about who's winning and losing in this crazy, crazy week. See you in a few. Hey, happy Friday, everybody. You are tuned to May the Best Brand Win on Entertalk Media, the undisputed leader in music biz talk. I am still Scott, still your host, still a man talking into a microphone like I've been doing for years for you folks. We're all talking about no NAMM, now what, right? What's come next in this what's going to come next in this entire episode. But let's take a quick break like we always do, and let's just peek around the rest of the world and see who might be winning and losing this week in the wonderful world of marketing. Well, we got to start off with AutoZone. AutoZone made a huge announcement this week, and they said they're looking to hire 20,000 workers nationwide. They basically said They're fortunate to be in a position to create so many rewarding jobs and career opportunities, especially in this current environment, said the president and CEO. They have positions open for delivery drivers, part-time sales managers, full and part-time associates. The jobs are going to be spread across 5,800 stores and available in 50 states. What's interesting in this story, Memphis-based Autozone obviously hasn't been able to avoid the virus, but they proved to have a bit of a stronger immune system than some companies. They are doing, they're doing very, very well. And obviously, one of the smartest things you can do as a marketer is when everybody else pulls back on their investment, they pull back on their marketing opportunities and everything. That's when you want to accelerate, because that's pretty much the only time that you can cost effectively gain market share on competitors. AutoZone knows that. They know that they can position themselves, much higher up in the industry by accelerating while everybody else is taking their foot off the accelerator. So, which is a nice car analogy that I just came up with and realized it was a car analogy while I was talking about AutoZone. So anyway, there you go. AutoZone is all kinds of winning. California is losing because Uber and Lyft are getting ready to bail out of our state. If you've been following this story, and I'm reading from TechCrunch, or no, The Verge on this one. So Uber and Lyft are obligated to classify their drivers as employees under a California superior judge denying the company's attempt to delay an injunction going into effect. The two companies have both threatened to leave the state if they're forced to change the status of their drivers from independent contractors to employees. It adds a lot of cost to the whole Uber and Lyft model. And so they will there's one way to say that. One way to say this is they're going to leave the state. And you're like, okay, that's fine. Well, we're not going to have any more Ubers or Lyfts and stuff like that. But we are very dependent on, especially in metro areas, on Uber and Lyft. And don't forget these people, right? All the people that did this great side hustle and made all this side money as Uber and Lyft drivers, they're fired. They're essentially firing hundreds of thousands of quote unquote employees. And those people are going to have to find other ways to make money. Another fine example of how poorly California is run as a state. I've lived in California a long time. Every state does it better than us. Every state does it better than us for business. Every state does it better than us for just about everything. The state's a mess. And it rots, it stinks from the head down. Our governor is a friggin' moron. He is a absolute moron that never should have been elected after the bang up job that he did in San Francisco. It's friggin' human feces on the streets, for God's sake. And I'm sorry to get political. If you like the governor, turn off my program. You're an idiot and I can't help you. The governor is an idiot and that can't be in dispute at this point. And you're about to lose Uber and Lyft. You're about to throw your citizens under the proverbial bus, in this because you want to change their status from independent contractors to employees. There's no reason for this. There's no reason for this AB law, this AB 5 law. It hurts musicians. It hurts freelancers. It's going to drive these companies out of California. It's all kinds of losing. It's losing at all kinds of different levels. And I encourage everybody, if you can sign a recall petition, if we can get rid of this governor in this state, we have to. It's so hard to do business in this state, and it's just gotten harder. It really has. While we're on the subject of massive government overreach, let's talk about Pastor John Mcarthur. Pastor John Mcarthur is in trouble in California for defying public health orders. He's still holding indoor services with thousands of Christians with no social distancing. The Grace Community Church just basically opened its doors, and the whole place is full. It's a mega church in suburban Los Angeles, and of course the government is fighting this because they think that the order issued in July said that houses of worship must limit indoor gatherings to 100 people or 25% of the building's capacity, whichever is lower, and that kind of thing. Here's something that you can quote me on. The Constitution of the United States of America prohibits government from getting involved in religious activities. Every time the government has tried to censor, shut down, do anything with religious activities, they've gotten their ass handed to them by the Supreme Court when it was over. Okay. And that's going to be the case here. Just so you know, it's like we have this document. It's called the Constitution of the United States of America. And I know the government would say, oh, we're trying to keep people safe and all this kind of thing. It's just, you're going to lose. You're going to lose. There's no way that you win that. Even if you win, you still lose. And even if you win down here on earth, you probably lose to a higher court, if you know what I'm saying. So, anyway, there's no way to win there. Just a couple more examples of California messing up. We're talking about virtual shows, and who's winning this week? One of my clients, BandLab, which owns guitar.com, owns a UK based guitar magazine called Guitar. They're launching a brand new virtual guitar show in October called Guitar Live. Looks fantastic. Full disclosure, I'm doing PR for this. So I'm actually kind of, I don't know, right now promoting something that I'm involved in. So just so you know, that is fully disclosed. They've been my client for a good long time, but it looks really cool. And I would encourage everybody that wants to take a look at it to go to guitar.com/live. And they can register for free and check out what the main stage is going to look like, and just see what's going to be going on this whole thing. But definitely winning, because talk about an organization that says, okay, well, there's not going to be a NAMM show, but what else can we do? And that kind of thing. So basically, the trade show calendar may be a little bare, but here's another event for musicians to dig into. So anyway, that's a good one. Check that out. Again, that's my client, BandLab, and their magazine that they own. That's guitar.com. Anyway, that's who's winning and losing this week, folks. Come on back. I'm going to give you a few segments in segment 3, I'm going to give you a few tips for doing this stuff without a trade show. Back you up. Come on back. Hey, everybody. Happy Friday. You are still tuned to May the Best Brand Win on Entertalk Media, the undisputed leader on music biz talk. And I am Scott, your host. We've been talking about what are we going to do with no trade shows this time around here in 2020, early 2021. What are we going to do? Well, fortunately, I'm going to give you a few tips. That you can use and enjoy them. Have a good time with them. It's going to be fun. Here we go. So my first tip is, and I kind of structured these around the role of trade shows and marketing. So let's say we want to show new products off, right? We want to announce stuff. We want to introduce new stuff. Trade shows have always served that purpose. Well, you can still announce stuff. This year more than ever, it's really going to be about the quality of your public relations. Every single magazine and media outlet that went to CES and went to NAMM, they still have a hole in their content that they have to cover, right? Now the objective is going to be, how can you connect with them and get them all of your stuff in time for their coverage? You can't rely on them stopping by the booth to grab a water or scotch and soda or whatever. You have to be out there early. Having a good PR effort this year is very, very advisable. I used to work with a lot of NAMM exhibitors, and NAMM exhibitors like to wait to the last minute to do everything. I would not advise that approach this year. This is the year where you want to think what your strategy is going to be. What are we announcing? How, when are we going to have materials on that? And keeping in mind, how are we going to work with these publications? Also, I would say in the music products industry, it makes sense to think about advertising too. You're not paying NAMM this year for your booth space, so you've got extra money in the budget. You need to look and say, maybe we still want to reach musicians. Maybe there are some ads we can buy, some public relations, earned media things we can do, some more product reviews that we can do, some first look kind of things going on. It's really, you have to think through your PR strategy. But again, it's going to be a lot of more work this year, and it's going to be early work too. You need to get going on it right now in August, and also don't forget about your own channels to announce things too. I see so many companies, and then they don't even put their own product announcements on social media. I mean, I love I like the humbleness that you show, but that's why you have those channels. You have those channels so that you can let people know what's going on with you. So don't forget to do it. I would say, don't forget to actually execute it. Which is a good point. A lot of marketing is built around designing a strategy, but executing that strategy is critically important too. If you write everything out, but you don't send it to the right people, that's a fail. If you, if you create, a great video and you just show it around inside the company, you didn't get everything you're supposed to get out of that. You need to be able to do, to execute, to be able to do strategy, planning and strategy, and also execution is critically important. This year, it's going to be even more important. Now, you've got some extra budget. Like I said, you've got extra budget. You're not paying NAMM this year. You're not paying CES this year. What are you going to do with that budget? What are you going to do with that budget that's going to be, the smart company would be increasing that budget, looking for, because what do we do when everybody else takes their foot off the accelerator? We do what Autozone does, right? We stomp on it. We say, we're going to hire 20,000 people. We're going to take so much market share from people. It's not going to be funny. That's how you win. That's how you win right there. And think about it. If you don't have people in-house that can do this kind of stuff for you, find somebody. My company is looking for clients, always give me a shout. If you've got, especially if you've never hired a PR firm before, you will love it. You will love it because you won't have to do a lot of this work. And let's face it, if you're like most NAMM exhibitors that I know, you weren't doing the work anyway. So at least somebody will be doing that work, and somebody will be making sure that you're getting that coverage. It's really, really important. And again, don't think that these publications aren't going to still be doing stories on what breaks during that time of year. Number 2, business connections, right? We're talking about your network is your net worth, right? So NAMM's virtual event could be very beneficial here. Don't forget about LinkedIn. Don't forget about LinkedIn. Please don't use LinkedIn the way that some people have been using it lately with me, and they connect with me and then they send me a sales email, the very first email. As I've said many times on this show, and obviously not enough times, so let's say it again for the cheap seats. Don't ever do that. Don't ever send a sales email as the very first piece of contact. Hey, I just thought you might be interested in my business and throwing me some money. What do you say? No. Don't use LinkedIn that way. How can you use LinkedIn? You can connect with people. You can look at other people's connections, the groups. You can post valuable content that helps other people. And in doing so, they discover your brand in a powerful way, right? I did an entire show about what not to do in LinkedIn. Go back and I think it's like episode 74 or something. Go look at that one and make sure if you're going to use LinkedIn, do it that way. But I think that these virtual events can still be very beneficial. Especially if you can find a way to connect with other attendees that are going to be there. It's going to be a little weird. You're going to be doing it, with a webcam and a computer instead of going up to somebody, at a bar, at an event and doing it live and face to face. Hey, on the plus side, you don't have to wear pants. Another, huge plus is the fact that you don't have to drive anywhere. Honestly, let's face it. The NAMM Show is great, and believe me, nobody loves the show more than me, but it's a pain in the ass. Getting there is difficult. Being around all the other people is difficult. Staying well is difficult because everybody's sick and everybody gets NAMMthrax after the show. Same thing with CES. It's a damn nightmare, but we tolerate it because it helps us in business. But actually not having to go into all those rooms, hey, there's something to be said for that as well. Again, you can still make business connections without trade shows. You got to think, who do I want to connect with? Who knows those people? What my recommendation would be is make a list of the people you want to connect with. Then look and see who's connected with them that you might know, right? Do the 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon kind of thing. or 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. And, do that and basically say, who do I know that might be connected to so-and-so, that might be connected to so-and-so, and boom. And then you've got a solid, warm introduction, and you can talk about business. Do not sell. Do not sell. Do not sell, right? You are there to, talk about, kind of what you do in general terms and have people kind of lean in and say, okay, tell me more about that. But don't solicit me directly. That's a sure way to get blocked from somebody. It's a sure way not to, not to have your social connections stay with you. And the last tip that I have is, you can still do, we're talking about research, right? If we're talking about how do we know what everyone else has? Well, trade shows are a fantastic way to stay up to date, but the virtual events should be good for this. They actually should be pretty good for this. Depending on how they are structured, the virtual NAMM Show will have a place for exhibitors to, have some of their documentation, or maybe showing videos, or maybe showing, it's going to be done with like photos and videos, more so than anything. So, but couple that with your own research. Also, if you're talking to media, don't forget to ask them what they've seen in your space. Media can be a fantastic source to say, well, man, I just saw this thing and it really just blew my mind. I mean, do you know this, this little amp? That's how I found out about the Positive Grid Spark amp, SPARQ. It was a prototype that came out at last year's NAMM. And one of my friends in the media said, man, I just saw this thing over at Positive Grid that you got to see. It was such a neat little amp. And I went over and played it, and I loved it. I had so much fun playing that little amp. I bought one. It took them a while to get it to me. I bought it in April. I got it in July, but they had to build them, and they had to do that. So, but the media can tell you stuff that you might really want to use. So anyway, those are my tips. What have we learned? We learned that without even our signature in-person trade shows, the music and technology industries are going to find new ways to connect with people. And if you're willing to adapt, if you're willing to take that curve, and you have the right guidance along the way, your marketing can be better than ever in 2021 and beyond. Thanks very much, and you guys have a great weekend. We'll see you back next week with a brand new show. Take care. Bye-bye.